What is up, everybody? I am back. There's no excuse for how long it has been, so sorry. Let's go ahead and just jump right into it and continue the tutorial series. So, last we left off, we made a room. Let's open up Radiant. And by the way, this tutorial series is still following my videos previously. So, if you have followed them to a T, then we will have left off right where we were. So, I'm opening the test map. Here we had a room. It was textured. It's got a light in it. I showed you how to adjust all of the entity options here. That's great. And we compiled it. So, why don't we minimize the editor? I'm going to show you some tricks here. Let's actually open up our map. So open up single player console/dev map space test. Let's go into our map. Since we're going to be hopping in here quite often, and we're going to test everything over and over again, sometimes typing in the /give all for weapons gets annoying to do it every time to type it out. Let's make some binds real quick. And I may put it on the screen so that way it's easier to read, but let's do this. The letters I, O, and P, sorry, I already bound that. That's what you saw there. I, O, and P are not really used in Wolfenstein, so let's try that. Why don't we type /bind, B-I-N-D, space, the letter I, space, give, space, all. Hit enter. Every time we hit I, it's going to give us the weapons. And then, as I told you, there's no sound either. Well, there is now for me, but that's because I used the vid restart. So let's do this. /bind, O, space, vid underscore restart. Hit enter. So now, I'm going to do this again. Dev map test. Every time we come into our map, can't hear anything. We don't have a weapon. If we press 1, 2, 3 or scroll, nothing. All you have to do now is press I and then O. Now scroll. You've got weapons and you've got sound. Turn this down just a little bit. There you go. That's going to help us out later. It's just, like I said, just quicker. You can press I, O. You got sound. Anyways, today, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we can now manipulate brushes. We can create cool shapes. Because this is boring, right? I mean, there are times where you want square rooms, but what if you want beveled edges? What if you want doorways? That actually leads me into what we're going to do today. So we're going to learn how to cut brushes and create cool shapes, and then we will make a doorway to prepare us to make an actual door. So open up console, type /quit. Let's go back to the editor. This is pretty simple, so don't feel very overwhelmed with this. Let's go ahead and let's just create a new brush. It doesn't matter where you put it. Go up here. I'm just going to drag a whole square there. Open textures with T, go to common. Make sure calc is selected. Okay. Let's go ahead and make sure that this is the entire length of the wall. So from floor to ceiling. Hit escape on that. Hit save. Okay, guys. So we have a tool here. It's underneath the word curve. It's called Clipper. You can select it with the mouse to enable it. You can also select it again to disable it. But it also has a shortcut key, which is the letter X, as an X-ray. That's how I use it. I'm going to show you guys cool things that you can do with it. Okay. I want to turn this into a, what's the word? Like a pillar, but it's going to have beveled edges. So select it with Shift, left click, and you're always going to be doing a cut in the grid windows, okay? You don't cut using this 3D camera. Let's go to the top-down view here. And again, you can either click this to enable it, or you can hit the X-ray. I'm going to hit X-ray. Now, I'm doing top-down, so I'm going to go ahead. It works on the grid. So for every line here is going to be a point that you can start from. You're basically telling the engine, or the editor, I'm sorry, I should say, I'm going to start my slice here. So click once, you'll see a blue dot. And I'm going to end my slice here. Okay? Now ignore the fact that this disappeared. You want to pay attention to the grids. Hopefully it shows up on camera, but you can see that there's a yellow slice or selection, and then the rest of your object or brush is red. The yellow is telling you that, okay, if you want to make this cut, the yellow is what I'll leave you with. So if I were to now press enter, I have finished the cut. And this is what I'm left with. Okay, but you'll say, oh, that's not what I wanted though. I wanted the other piece. And that's fine. So I'm going to show you how we do that. Control Z to undo. Now look, I have my shape back. The way that cutting, or I should say clipping, works, it's about the direction that you go, that you start with. So I believe it works in a clockwise manner from the top-down view. Okay, so check this out. I had started over here on this left side of the square. We're going to start on the right side of the square. I'm going to start one cut right here. So I just clicked once, click here. So I'm going to do a 2 by 2, so it's an even cut. Click there. Now I'm going to hit enter. Okay, take a look. Now we have a cool beveled edge. Okay, you can continue the cut from here to there. Hit enter. An important note is that if you're cutting, you want to make sure that you disable your clipper if you're done. Because sometimes you can still be in it, and if you're trying to click, look what I'm doing. It's a bunch of extra clicks. So disable your clipper, hit escape to deselect, and then save your map. For us to get a better idea of, what we did and how it looks, let's texture it. So if you fly around, you can see that it's, got beveled edges. So I'm going to hold Control and Shift, and then left click each face, fly around to the other side, Control, Shift, left click each face, press T to open up textures. Let's keep the texture going, the same one, and choose Military Wall and choose the Concrete CO6. Hit escape and save the map. And there we go. Now, maybe this is ugly and actually for fun, doesn't matter. I'm going to change the texture. So Control Shift left click all the faces. Maybe I do want it to be a different texture. T do. How about Concrete M02 with the white paint at the bottom? This will be actually an interesting tutorial here because I'm going to get a little advanced. I'll try not to overwhelm you. Okay, save. You'll notice that the paint, basically this texture is tiling itself, right? So it's repeating itself. It's because we haven't really told the texture to do anything different. It's just layering itself at a default parameter. So let's change that. The only way to change it, though, is you have to have the texture selected. Same thing, Control-Shift, left-click all of them. Now, much like the letter N opens up the Entity window, the letter S as in Sam will open up the Surface Inspector. This is for textures. Now, a lot of this may seem confusing, but if you mess around with it, you'll see right away how it works. So, like for example, just click this Fit button, and you'll see that it's all stretched out. So, if you gather, what that means, it's fitting the texture to the actual size of the brush that it is. So, if you want to, undo that, you can hit Axial. It goes to this default view that we already had. If you see here, there's little arrow keys on each option here. So vertical shift. Let's just, for giggles, you can just keep clicking the arrow key. And the step here is how many steps you're going to move when you hit the up arrow. So we're going up 8 steps for every time we click this. So obviously, look, you can see that that pushes the texture vertically. Horizontal shift pushes the texture horizontally. And this is how people obtain specific looks for their textures. But here's the scale. This is what we want. So the scale, vertical scale, will stretch it, vertically. And you can change the step right here. So instead of 0.5, maybe do like 0.1 vertical scale. What we want here is we want to stretch it so that we don't see the white paint up top. And that looks like that might do it. So if I hit Escape, there we go. You can see that the paint is on the bottom and the wall, stretches to the ceiling, and it doesn't look half bad. Okay. So I know that we're talking about clipping first, and then we turned into texturing. But now let's go ahead and apply this to make a doorway. Okay. So choose a wall. I'm going to choose this horizontal wall here. And let's go ahead and hit Textures, scroll up to Common, and choose Calc. So the whole entire wall is Calc again, save our map. We're going to create a doorway. Don't forget that we have our player spawn in the map. So select the player spawn, and I want you to move it using this top-down window close to the wall that you're going to edit. Why is this important? Okay. So make sure that the player spawn is touching the floor and we're fairly close to the wall. Okay. Why this is important is because of scale. Have you ever played a custom map and you can tell that like doors are too big, buildings are really big or really small? That is scale, and that means that whoever was working on that environment, unfortunately, just, they were probably having fun with the map and just blazing through it, and they just wanted to get it done, and they're, making things look pretty, but they did not continuously reference the player's model, and so everything is kind of just, the scale doesn't make sense. Everything is kind of either too big or too small. If you keep the player spawn near this wall, we're going to cut out a shape that'll be just big enough for a door. So let's do that. Select the Calc wall, and let's start with the horizontal view. So remember that this, keep in mind where your floor is. The floor is 1 unit here. Okay, here's the top of the player head. This line. think a rule of thumb is, 2 spaces above the player. So 2 grid lengths above is great for like a single door. So let's try that, okay? With the clip tool, so you'll turn on, I'm using X-ray to turn it on. Follow this line. Okay, we're going to go 1, 2. We're just going to click once to start our cut, and you can click anywhere here. You don't have to go all the way to the end here, right? You could actually just click on the same line, boom, and you'll notice that it's just going to put a cut all the way through. Okay, instead of hitting enter, I'm going to show you another trick with cutting. You can actually, if you want to, notice how if you make a cut and you hit enter, it just throws away the other piece. Well, you can also keep both pieces while you make a cut if you do shift enter. Hit escape again. If you hold shift and now select both pieces, it just put a cut through the middle, and now they're 2 different pieces. Perfect. Hit save. Select the lower half, and I want you to go ahead and remember, keep reference of where the floor is. Okay, it's still 1 unit here, and here's the player height, and here's the player width. So, same concept. We did 1, 2 above his head. Let's do 1, 2. Let's do, 2 to the left of him. Okay, with this wall selected in this side view, let's go 1, 2 over, and let's start a cut here, go down, and just put any cut along this line here. Don't forget, shift enter to keep the slices. Okay. Escape to deselect. Save. Okay. Let's select this remaining wall. Okay. Hit X to start cutting. We're going to go 1, 2 over. So start a cut there. Cut on the same line. Shift enter. We're keeping the slices. Escape. Save your map. Now check it out. Hold shift. You can click all around and you can see exactly what we did. So what we did was we would literally cut away slices of this brush, turned it into 4 brushes. So escape and actually go ahead and select the door that we made a slice of. And for now, just hit backspace and delete it. Save. And there you have it. We learned just now how to cut the brushes. So yes, a lot of you are probably thinking, well, wait a minute, couldn't I have just done the same thing by building it? Couldn't I have literally just made a new wall, and duplicated it, put it over here, and made another wall right here, do the same thing? And the answer is yes, absolutely. You can still do that. That is another method for sure. But it's important that I show you how to cut, because then you can start working on cool environments. You can add, recesses into walls. This is also how you make windows. Like, this is how you make, functioning windows, functioning doors. If you wanted to make like an awning, for example, let me show you something. Let's say this was going outside and you wanted to, it's like a shopping center, okay? You wanted to make like a cute awning, okay? See this? If I go from the side and cut this, hit enter, I can texture that, You could also, to make it even more interesting looking, cut on the underside. And now it's actually awning like that, right? So that's why I'm showing you guys this. Okay. So I've shown you just a basic way to cut objects and to texture them. Before we end this video, let's texture this wall to make it more appropriate. And actually, to prepare us for the next video, let's make this a little bit wider on each side. Select the wall, drag it 1, 2 on either side, sorry. 1, 2. Select the top and bring it up to 1, 2. Okay, notice these walls now need to come up. Select both of them with Shift and then carefully drag 1, 2 up. Save. Okay, that should be, yeah, that should be wide enough for what I want to show you in the video. Okay. All right. So let's texture this before we go. Control, Shift, left click, each face. T for textures. Castle wall right here. Oops, sorry. Military wall. And concrete CO6. Escape. Save. There we go. We've made a cute little beveled wall. We've got this cutout hole. And now technically we can test this. So let me grab my player. I'm going to put him here so that way he's facing this wall. Make him face 90 degrees. Okay, let's test it out. Save, BSP. Oops, sorry. Hit O for the console. BSP, first option to create a BSP. Glad I did this because look, we have our first error. It's actually more of like a debug error. It's telling us, hey, your map is leaked. It even says what entities can see outside of the map. So real quick, close this, hit escape, save your map. It's telling us this gray space in the editor, this is the void. And cut a hole in this wall. That means that the player can actually access the void. They can see it. And that's known as a leak. And you don't want a leak, but to be honest with you, they do happen. It's once you start getting bigger maps going, it can be very difficult to keep that from happening. But anyways, it's not the end of the world. For testing, it's totally fine. I'm going to show you what it looks like, so you can ignore it for now. So we got to do the second PSP, do the test, light, fast, and filter. Let that run. It will always tell you if there's a leak every time you compile. Don't click anything until this is finished. Connection closed. Great. Okay. Minimize. Let's test the map. Dev map test. I'm going to hit I. I'm going to hit O. Got a weapon. Got our wall. Pretty cool. And here's the trippy part. This is that void I was talking about. Really trippy. But that's okay. So in the next video, we will create a door. We'll see you then.